Even though the price of crude is about 30% that it was 4 years ago, companies are still pumping that Bakken crude to market. Looking west and around to look northwest up Highway 33. Regina is 130 k away. The railway station, a standard number 5, built in 1904, stood right in here, about 6 miles from Stoughton on what CPR called its Taiwan sub, sold off in 1971. It is the Friday evening of the 13th of May 2016, and this is Heward, Saskatchewan, and that sky looks foreboding. Looking southeast down 33 towards Stoughton, 11 k away. The elevators stood right over there. They were all built before 1911. International Elevator, Ogilvy Flour Mills, and Western Elevator Company. They ended up all being owned by the Saskatchewan Wheat Pool, and last of them were closed in 1986 and long gone. There was apparently a flour mill built way back and was demolished by wind in 1907. Must have been one heck of a storm. On Leonard Street, looking across the back of Maine and sea cans. The post office of Heward was established by Richard Riley on April 1st, 1904, still here. The community originally called itself Caldwell, but when the CPR laid out the town site in 1904, they decided to name it after their assistant secretary, A.R.G. Heward. And looking at Main Street, the village office. The village was incorporated on November the 18th, 1904. Population peaked in 1906 at 173. 100 years later, population had declined to 20, but come 2016, it's rebounded to 44, thanks mostly to the oil boom and the Bakken oil field. About a mile and a half below our feet, no trespassing at this old garage. There was another old garage, very picturesque, over on Leonard and South Railway, but it's been pushed down. Wow, concrete sidewalks in here. We're looking forward to good times in the 50s. Looking south down Main. There's the curling rink just on the other side of Adrian Avenue. Like many prairie towns back in the 1900s, teens, and 20s, Heward's Main Street was lined with businesses, implement dealers, several general stores, butchers, bakers, jewelry, laundry, newspaper, bank, doctor, boarding house, lumber yards, livery stables. Now the only business is Hemp Hill Trenching. Nice big brand new building. Don't know what happened on Main Street to wipe out all the original buildings. Maybe fires or just fell down. There's a big fancy mansard roof hotel where the Orange Building stands down there. This is Adrian Avenue. There's Hemp Hill again. The town site, of course, is laid out perpendicular to the railway track. This is White Avenue. Yeah, the hotel was a fancy place with a widow's walk on the top, 3 floors high, dormered mansard roof, probably a good dining room and perhaps even a beer parlor. Long gone. But still standing on White Street is the Jewel of Heward. The Anglican Church. Construction began in 1916. It was the second church in town. There was another one over on Main, built in 1905. And the toppled homemade cross has been that way since almost the beginning. Lovely store. Heritage site, of course. It was completed in 1921 and became a United Church in 1961. But it's been closed since 1968. Boy, that sky does look forbidding. Holy mackerel. Don't think I'll camp tonight. And there's another mansard roof, reminiscent of the style of the hotel. Just to the left of the church there was another church standing, at least into the 50s, kind of a plain Jane effort in clapboard. And the curling rink on Main. The first school in Heward was opened in 1906. A nice 2-story, 4-room brick building was opened right over there on the other side of this slough. And probably the 1920s. It was replaced by this edifice sometime in the 50s. This was closed in 1969. Now the kids commute to Stoughton like most of the other students in the neighborhood. Looking northeast up White Street towards Highway 33 and the railway, which is owned by the Stewart Southern Railway since 2010, headquartered in Fillmore, just northwest up the highway. Some of the old buildings still standing. Well, we're back in Heward. Let's go up and take a little look-see around. It's May 29th, 2020, a Friday. I mentioned that Heward was originally called Caldwell, named after Hamilton Caldwell, who owned some land just in the northeast of town, right up there. There was a community established itself on his land, had a lumberyard, livery stable, Joe Monroe's store, among other things. There's a better view of the curling rink. There's been a slough at this location forever. And there's the school. This is the bed of Glacier Lake Regina, which drained away into the Missouri system perhaps 11,000 years ago. I don't know whether the sloughs are actually a remnant. This is, of course, Treaty 4 territory signed between the Cree and some Assiniboine and the Crown in 1874. There's Dennis Street and Adrian Avenue. I should mention that when it was built in 1904, this stretch of railway track was the longest, straightest stretch in the world. 95.4 miles from just east of Stoughton to the main line in downtown Regina. It remains the longest, straightest in North America, but the Australians took the World Championship in 1917 with a line across the Nullarbor Plains, stretched 297 dead straight miles. Darn, it's hard to control this machine in the wind. Try and get it to cooperate here. The other church just stood below us. It's on this side of the Caragana. There we go. That's a better view. It's in need of some repair, this old building. Suggested that you would make an ideal jump-off place for the CPR to build down to Weyburn, but they chose to build from Stoughton instead. Heward, Saskatchewan.